Good evening everybody, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy. So in this session we will be discussing current affairs of this week followed by daily newspaper analysis in remaining days, right? So in this session we have some important current affairs topics of last 1 week, so we'll try to discuss them in a very detailed manner so that this discussion will be helpful for your preparation. So the first topic that we are going to discuss is about US has submitted its nationally determined contributions, right? So in fact every country needs to submit its nationally determined contributions, including the developing countries also. Both developed and developing countries need to submit their intended nationally determined contributions as an effort to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and its cumulative impact on the global warming as well. So therefore recently elections happened in US and Donald Trump will be next US president. So therefore in this particular context US has announced new nationally determined contributions for 2035. So earlier US has nationally determined contributions for up to 2030, but new nationally determined contributions have been announced by revising the earlier existing NDCs by US to 2035. So we'll try to discuss this as well. And United States has recently announced its emission reduction target for 2035, right? So as part of its emission reduction targets 2035, so USA has promised to reduce its emissions to 61 to 66% below 2005 levels by that particular time. And this is what is the revised NDC of USA. And in fact US has built this target for 2035, which aims to attain 50 to 52% of the reductions over 2005 levels. So USA earlier aimed to achieve the target of reducing 50 to 52% of the emissions over 2005 levels by 2030. So after this particular target, so USA again revised its nationally determined contributions. Now it has promised that its emissions would be reduced by 61 to 66% of below 2005 levels by the year 2035. And in fact it is very important for us to reduce the emissions. And apart from that the world also, every country, the world collectively wanted to limit the rise in global temperatures to 1.5 degree Celsius, so less than 1.5 degree Celsius, and maximum 2 degree Celsius. Okay, so not more than 2 degree Celsius of temperatures above the pre-industrial levels, right? Because that would come with unintended consequences, right? So we are already facing the unintended consequences, such as the intensity and frequency of disasters have increased, and people who are living in the global south are the most vulnerable to such worst impacts of the climate change, because in those countries in the global south there are higher levels of poverty and lower levels of economic development, poor infrastructure, and apart from that low level of education, health care, and the capacity of the governments to ensure welfare of the people is also very weak. So because of all these reasons, the most of the worst impact is being faced by the people in the global south. They are becoming more and more vulnerable, and because of this particular reason there is an increased demand to transfer technology as well as finances to countries in the global south by the developed countries, because developed countries are historically responsible for the present level of climate change, right? So that's why a loss and damage fund has been created, and in fact developing countries are also asking the developed countries to provide more financial support, so that this finances and technology from the developed world will help the developing countries to undertake mitigation and adaptation measures, and that is very important to ensure that the vulnerability of these countries could be further reduced, so that they will be better protected from the negative consequences of the climate change, right? So in fact, the new target of US for 2035 has been disclosed in the updated nationally determined contribution, or it is also known as NDC. In fact, US has submitted this revised nationally determined contributions to the United Nations climate change, right? So we have a convention at the global level. That convention aims at, bringing all countries together, working collectively to combat climate change. Okay, so that convention is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, right? So this is the convention that deals with the climate change by bringing together or different countries at the global level. And in fact, we all knew about Paris deal of 2015. This is also known as COP21, Conference of Parties 21. So that took place in Paris 2015. So Paris Agreement of 2015, it asked every member country to periodically prepare and submit their plans for the climate action, right? So how each country has been planning to reduce their emissions, because reducing emissions by all the countries, whether it is developed country or developing country, is very, very important. However, how can they reduce emissions? By transforming or making a transition into the renewable form of energy, or achieving energy efficiency. However, in order to achieve energy efficiency, or in order to switch over to renewables, so what you require technology, you require finances. However, developing countries, least developed countries, and small island developing states lack the necessary technology and finances, and that is where they have been demanding more transfers from the developed countries. And in fact, the first round of nationally determined contributions contained climate change targets that countries intended to achieve by 2030, right? So first phase or first round of nationally determined contributions also consisting of targets where countries intended to achieve by the year 2030, and India has also submitted its nationally determined contributions targeting the year 2030 as well. However, in Glasgow summit of COP27, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced Panchamrit commitments. So as part of Panchamrit commitments, we have also revised our greenhouse gas emission reduction targets as well. And in fact, the second round of nationally determined contributions for the year 2035 are now due and have to be submitted by February next year by the countries. And in fact, US has also claimed that its 2035 target, in fact, it was the highest level of ambition possible. And US also said that it is consistent with the requirement of keeping global temperature rise within 1.5 degrees Celsius from the pre-industrial levels. So in the beginning, I've told you that the objective is to keep global temperatures below 1.5 degrees Celsius, or maximum 2 degrees Celsius. So that's where this planet can be protected from the adverse impact of the climate change. So however, as per the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, the global emissions must fall below 43% of 2019 levels by 2030. So if this particular target is achieved, then we could be able to limit the global temperature rise below 1.5 degree Celsius. So however, experts have been predicting that if temperatures increase above 2 degrees Celsius, then it will be very difficult, and it will even lead to the sixth mass extinction as well, and that will have adverse impact on the entire humanity, right? So keeping these warnings in mind, it is very important that these countries need to act in a much more swift manner. Because so if you look at the countries which have been producing the greenhouse gas emissions, and greenhouse gas emissions are responsible for global warming, and global warming further leads to the climate change, right? So however, in fact, India, China and USA are in the first three places of greenhouse gas emissions, right? So under the International Climate Change Framework, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, developed countries such as US are supposed to take a major share of responsibility when it comes to dealing with the climate change. So these countries should come forward. They should help the developing countries, underdeveloped countries and small island developing states which have been facing the worst impact of the climate change. Now, how these countries can step up? They can provide finances and technology. However, most of these developed countries are reluctant to provide technology and finances to the developing countries, and that's where there is a rift between global north and global south when it comes to the climate change. So therefore, in this context, they need to proactively act to deal with the threat of climate change. And apart from that, they are also expected, the developed world is also expected to make a bigger emission cuts, because it is the general perception that the current levels of climate change or global warming, the developed countries are responsible, because through the industrial revolution developed countries are benefited, and increased temperatures of the earth is mostly because of industrial revolution, and industrial revolution benefited the developed north. And because of that particular reason, now it is also the right of people who are living in the developing world to develop themselves, right, to enjoy better standards of living. Because in most of the developing countries, people don't have proper health care, proper education, they don't have proper infrastructure, and they are still living in poverty, and they are also facing problems like malnutrition, infant mortality rate, child maternal mortality rate, hidden hunger. So all these problems that they have been facing, right? So it is also their right to enjoy a better living standards, and because of that particular reason, so it is expected from the developed world that they should make a bigger emission cuts and also provide assistance to these countries, right? So assistance in terms of finances as well as technology, so that it will help these developing countries, so that they can undertake the adaptation and mitigation measures, and that will help reduce the vulnerability of these countries and people who are living in the global south to the climate change. And in fact, just COP29 took place, right? So in COP29, developing countries have increasingly demanded that the developed countries should increase the financial support for the developing countries. Now earlier the provision was $100 billion of financial support would be provided by the developed world to the developing countries. However, so because of there is a need to act urgently, there is a need to act swiftly, there is a need to cut emissions, the developing world increasing pressure on the developed world to increase the financial support, the quantum of financial support. So ultimately the developed world agreed to provide a financial support of $300 billion, right? So even then, countries like India and Nigeria strongly protested that $300 billion is not sufficient, and in fact it requires more than $1 trillion to support these developing countries, small island developing states, so that they could undertake mitigation and adaptation. They can also build the capacities on their own, and that will further help in reducing emissions as well. So that's where the global community can make a good progress in terms of reducing the emissions and also limiting the rise in global temperatures below 1.5 degree Celsius, and that is the primary objective of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, in this context, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made 5 pledges, and these 5 pledges are also called as Panchamrit commitments, right? So they are known as Panchamrit commitments. Now, in Panchamrit commitments, so they are also similar to the nationally determined contributions. So these are the aims and aspirations of Indian economy, that we would like to make a swift transition, and India will increase its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030, right? So that essentially means that energy will not be produced. So around we will produce 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel based energy. So remember, fossil fuels are crude oil and coal, so they are fossil fuels. And still, if you look at our energy mix, now we have been importing 87% of our crude oil and our crude oil requirement from other countries, and still we have disproportionately dependent on coal for energy generation. Now coal, when we burn coal to produce energy, so that will also emit, that will also release greenhouse gases, particularly carbon. So therefore, this is the first target, that we will produce 500 gigawatt by 2030, and these 500 gigawatt is non-fossil fuel based energy. Second target is that India will meet 50% of its energy requirement from the renewable energy itself. So renewable energy, so wind energy, solar energy, so all these different forms of energy which don't release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The third target is India will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now to 2030, and by 2030 India will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by 45%. So its previous target was 35%. Again, it was revised, and ultimately India will become net zero by 2070. So these are some of the aims and aspirations of India as part of its Panchamrit goals, that India will make a rapid and faster transition. The next topic is Colombo Security Conclave. So we'll try to understand about this Colombo Security Conclave also. This is important because recently Sri Lankan President Anurakkumara Dissanayake had an official visit to India, and on his visit to India, so Colombo Security Conclave was also discussed, and it is also important. So we'll try to understand this as well, along with his visit and importance of his visit, because we have already discussed the importance of his visit to India. So Sri Lankan President Anurakkumara Dissanayake visit to India last week, and in fact, so when he was elected as the president of Sri Lanka, so it was his first visit to any other foreign country. So India's visit was his first visit to any other foreign country, and in fact, so it has featured some classic diplomatic deal making between India and Sri Lanka, with give and take on both sides. So now give and take on both sides in the sense that both countries have identified issues of mutual concern, and they also tried to reciprocate their relations, right? So that's how this give and take approach usually works. Now, according to the joint statement which has been released by both Sri Lanka and Indian delegation, so the two leaders have recognized positive and impactful role of India's developmental assistance in Sri Lanka. Now remember that in last 2 years, Sri Lanka has gone through a lot of economic crisis. It has faced a lot of trouble, right? So there are higher levels of inflation. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has actually triggered, along with some policy decisions of Sri Lanka's top leadership, has triggered economic crisis in Sri Lanka. So however, India readily helped Sri Lanka, right? So India has provided essential supplies, India has provided energy resources, India has also provided the currency swap. So India has also assisted Sri Lanka through currency swap. So India assisted Sri Lanka by providing it with around 4 billion US dollars, right? So India did a number of India has undertaken a number of measures to protect Sri Lanka from this economic crisis, right? So therefore Sri Lanka has recognized positive and impactful role that India has provided in terms of developmental assistance when Sri Lanka was going through the economic crisis, and that has significantly contributed to the socio-economic growth and even further flourishing the bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka, right? So in terms of physical connection between India and Sri Lanka, so in this particular bilateral meet, so both leaders have discussed to resume passenger ferry service between Nagapattinam. So Nagapattinam is a coastal town in Tamil Nadu, and Kanke So Kanke is in Sri Lanka. So there will be a resumption of ferry service between these two towns in India and Sri Lanka. And in fact, they will also look into the possibilities of working for the restoration of Sri Lanka's Kanke port as well. Now remember that when we talk about Sri Lanka, there has been increasing influence of China, and in fact China has also acquired Hambantota port for 99-year lease. Okay, so it has acquired Hambantota port for 99-year lease, and that's where it is a strategic concern for India, because Hambantota port is not very far from Indian southern, eastern coast of India, right? And apart from that, Sri Lankan Navy has been regularly tracking the Indian vessels in the Indian Ocean region, and Chinese Navy's involvement and Chinese naval presence has also substantially increased in the Indian Ocean region, and that's where India feels that it is a concern for its status as a net security provider. And because of that particular reason, India time and again conveyed all these concerns with Sri Lanka. So in fact, Sri Lankan president has also assured Indian leadership that Sri Lanka will never be used by any foreign country which may be inimical to the interests of India, right? So Sri Lankan territory will not be used by any third country, so against India. So this is what his statement was. So therefore we can ensure that Sri Lankan territory will not be used by Chinese against India. So however, China has become more aggressive. Now it is more assertive in its nature, particularly its navy in the Indian Ocean region. So China has a policy called string of pearls strategy. So through its string of pearls strategy, China has been trying to encircle India, and that is where it is a main concern for us, right? So to counter a string of pearls strategy, India has also started a necklace of diamonds strategy, right? So to counter Chinese string of pearls strategy. So altogether that is a different issue. So Prime Minister Modi has highlighted the importance of maritime security. So maritime security is one of the key concern. Now when we talk about the maritime security, so it involves piracy, terrorism, illegal fishing, and drug trafficking, human trafficking. So all these aspects comes under the maritime security domain. So therefore Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted India's concerns with respect to maritime security, cyber security, and counter-terrorism, and problems would be addressed through the Colombo Security Conclave. Now in this context, we'll try to understand what is this Colombo Security Conclave, because we may get a question on this Colombo Security Conclave in prelims examination. Because of that reason, it is important for us to understand this. So Colombo Security Conclave was established in the year 2011, right? So it was established in the year 2011, and in fact it was a trilateral maritime security alliance between three different countries. So they are India, Sri Lanka, and Maldives, right? So India, Sri Lanka, and Maldives, and it is a trilateral maritime security alliance, particularly to address the maritime security, cyber security, counter-terrorism in the region. And in fact, the activity roadmap was later expanded, or it was further expanded, this Colombo Security Conclave, And in fact, Mauritius has also joined the Colombo Security Conclave as the fourth member, right? So Mauritius has become the fourth country which is also part of the Colombo Security Conclave, and later Bangladesh and Seychelles have become the observer states of this Colombo Security Conclave, right? So Seychelles as well as Bangladesh have become the observer states, and in fact this Colombo Security Conclave emphasizes on regional collaboration, common security goals, and also overall security, safety, particularly piracy, counter-terrorism, illegal, irregular fishing in the Indian Ocean region. So all the threats emanating from the Indian Ocean region will be collectively looked into or dealt by the Colombo Security Conclave. So in addition to the Colombo Security Conclave, there are some other measures from initiatives from Indian side also that could substantiate, that could further strengthen the Colombo Security Conclave, particularly Sagar Initiative, Mahasagar Initiative, and also Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. So such measures would further strengthen the efforts of the Colombo Security Conclave, right? So it intends to prioritize maritime security, marine pollution response, maritime search and rescue throughout the region. So these are the areas where this Colombo Security Dialogue is going to focus on, and it was established in the year 2011. So next topic is, so recently what happened was Ganges River dolphin, so its scientific name is Platanista gangetica, and in fact it is national aquatic animal of India, so was tagged in Bihar. So we'll understand why it is important to tag these marine species and what important insights we can derive from tagging these animals. So recently the first Ganges River dolphin, so its scientific name is Platanista gangetica, was tagged in Assam. Okay, so just remember the state, it was tagged in the state of Assam, marking a historical milestone for Project Dolphin, right? So in fact it is a conservation initiative. Project Dolphin is a conservation initiative dedicated to India's national aquatic animal. So remember that a gangetic dolphin has been facing many threats, particularly fishing, poaching, and apart from that the water from agriculture fields entering into these rivers, having pesticides, fertilizers, and apart from that pollution entering into the river water from the nearby towns, and construction of barrages which has been obstructing the natural flow of these species. So all these factors have been posing a significant threat to the population of gangetic dolphin. So in this context it is very important to launch such a project that aimed at the conservation of the national aquatic animal gangetic dolphin. However, recently gangetic dolphin has been tagged in the state of Assam, and this tagging exercise will help us understand species seasonal and migratory behavior and their range, and also their distribution, the habitat use, particularly in fragmented or degraded river ecosystems. Now when we understand all these important and essential factors about the gangetic dolphin, so we get to know about the essential aspects of it. Thereby there will be scientific and logical interventions for the protection and conservation of gangetic dolphin, right? So save dolphin and save Ganga is actually the theme of conservation of gangetic river dolphins. The center has declared dolphin a national aquatic animal. Remember, this is a national aquatic animal to save a rare freshwater species from disappearing from the country's aqua map. Remember that I've mentioned a lot of threats that gangetic dolphin has been facing, and in fact, so if there are no targeted interventions to protect gangetic dolphins, they would extinct. Okay, so they would extinct. So because of that reason it is very important to conserve the dolphin species, and that's one of the reason because of which the government of India declared a Gangetic dolphin as a national aquatic animal, and in fact male dolphins can grow up to 2.12 meters and female Gangetic dolphins can grow to a length of up to 2.67 meters, and in fact female Gangetic dolphins can give birth to only one calf once in 2-3 years. So by this we can come to the conclusion that so they can give birth to only one single calf, and that to 2-3 years, and that's where the population has become very scarce with respect to Gangetic river dolphins, and it is also very important to protect and conserve the habitat of the Gangetic river dolphins. And in fact these dolphins are generally considered as blind, and they also catch their prey by emitting ultrasonic sound to gauge a distance, and in fact this is considered as one of the unique features of the Gangetic dolphin because they emit the ultrasonic sound to identify their prey. And in fact if we talk about the geographical distribution of Gangetic dolphin, so we could see those dolphins in Assam, UP, MP, Rajasthan, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, particularly in the rivers of Chambal, Son, Kosi, Brahmaputra and river Ganga. And in fact the Gangetic dolphins prefer deep waters in and around Indian river confluences, right? So these are some of the details, some important details with respect to Gangetic river dolphins, right? So apart from that, the next topic that we are going to discuss is about the remittances. Recently, World Bank has published Global Remittances Report of 2024, and in this Global Remittances Report of 2024, India tops. Okay, so I mean India is the country which has received one of the highest remittances in the world. So therefore it is important for us to understand so how much that India has received in remittances for the year 2024. So India continues to lead the world in terms of remittances, with non-resident Indians sending home a remarkable $129 billion in the year 2024, right? So see, so Indians migrate to other countries, particularly to Middle East. Most of the Indians are working as construction workers, and some Indians also migrate to Europe, and some people also migrate to US, where they work and they send some money to their dear ones back in India. So that money is known as remittances, right? So in the year 2024, India has received $129 billion or remittances. So in fact India is one of the top country to receive such a huge remittances. Remember, previously also I've told you that India's remittances are more than the combined GDP of both Pakistan and Bangladesh, right? So you can imagine the scale that we have been getting the remittances. Okay, so therefore it has marked an increase from the previous year's remittances of 8.95 lakh crore rupees. Okay, so there is actually an increase of 8.95 lakh crore rupees this year. And in fact global remittances 2024 is the report of World Bank, and this particular report has confirmed that India's position as the largest recipient of the remittances in the world, outpacing some of the countries which also receive highest amounts of remittances, such as Mexico, China, Philippines, Pakistan. And in fact, so if you look into the growth of global remittances across the globe, so India generally known for receiving a lot of money in remittances from the Middle East. So they are also known as the Gulf countries, because a majority number of workers in the Middle East, so they send a huge amount of remittances back to India. So however, even developed countries such as United States, Europe, particularly UK, France, Australia and even Canada, so they are also becoming the sources of remittances for India, and in recent times migration has also increased. Okay. So this particular shift in the remittances indicating, or it has been reflecting, the changing migration patterns and also the economic opportunities that Indians have been finding out in these respective countries. So if you look at India's remittances, that India receive remittances from number of different countries. So first place, UAE. From UAE we receive the largest amount in remittances, followed by USA, Saudi Arabia, right? So these are remittances inflow. I think this is not Pakistan. So how we receive remittances from Pakistan. So other countries, okay. So these are the countries that we receive remittances from different countries, okay. So the data might be some outdated data, okay. So next is Masali, that is India's first border solar village established, okay. So Masali is a border village in the state of Gujarat, So Masali is the first border solar village. I mean this is the village near the border area, Indo-Pak border area in the state of Gujarat. So that is fully solarized. I mean that is fully a solar village. So Masali village, it is located in Sugam taluka of Banskanta in Gujarat, has recently achieved a distinction of being India's first solar powered border village, right? So it has become India's first solar powered border village, and it has situated approximately 40 kilometers from the Pakistan border in the state of Gujarat. And in fact, this Masali village is also home to around 800 residents. And in fact, Masali being the fully solar village is part of the broader border development project. So Indian government has been undertaking the border development of Indo-Pakistan border, Indo-China border, keeping in mind the threats that have been emanating from these border areas. So if you remember, the government of India has launched a Vibrant Villages program. Vibrant Villages program specially aimed at improving infrastructure in these border areas, right? So in fact, the government of India has been planning to transform the border villages through the Vibrant Villages program. And Border Roads Organization plays a very important role in the development of these border areas. And the solar project in Masali village in Gujarat valued at 1.16 crore rupees. And in fact, this achievement of Masali village in Gujarat put more stress on the potential for the renewable energy solutions in remote border communities. Now imagine one thing, that in remote rural areas it is often very difficult to provide electricity access, particularly the grid connected electricity access. So because of this particular region, it is important to explore alternatives such as wind and solar energy. So when we have adequate infrastructure through which we could generate wind and solar energy, so then we could convert these remote and rural areas into fully electrified villages. Okay, so we have already discussed about PM Suryaghar Yojana previously. So it was launched, and the aim of this particular scheme is to provide 1 crore households with rooftop solar panels, right? So 1 crore households would be covered under PM Suryaghar Yojana with rooftop solar panels, so that they would be self-sufficient in terms of energy production. And this is also a renewable form of energy, and demand for the energy would also significantly decreases, particularly energy which is being produced from coal. And as part of PM Suryaghar Yojana, government would provide subsidy to these households to install solar panels on their rooftops, so they can generate electricity, and excess electricity they can also sell as well. So they can earn money, and at the same time they can also substantially reduce their electricity cost or electricity bills as well. And the next topic is New Delhi to host 2025 Para Athletics World Championship. So we'll try to understand about this as well. So what exactly is Para Athletics World Championship? And 2025 New Delhi is going to host this Para Athletics World Champion. So New Delhi will be the venue for the 2025 World Para Athletics Championship. So thereby it is a significant milestone, because it is the first time that India will be hosting such a prestigious event. Okay, so para athletics generally means that athletes who are physically challenged, or whom we call Divyangjans, so they would compete in different competitions, so different athletics competitions, and India will be hosting this prestigious event for the first time. And in fact, it is scheduled from September 26 to October 5, 2025, and the championship will showcase the talents of para athletes from around the globe, right? So para athletes are those athletes who are disabled, or Divyangjans, or persons with the disabilities. And in fact, in 2025 World Para Athletics Championship will be the 12th edition of the event, and it will also be the fourth time that championships are held. This para athletics championship will be held in Asia. Now in this context, remember that India has been planning to host even Olympics also. So therefore, India hosting such a global championships will help India gain expertise and learn from the experiences. So therefore, in future, it will equip India to host such massive events. So because that is also important, and so far India has not hosted Olympics even once, right? So India has been looking to host Olympics, because in Olympics Indians are getting very less number of medals, and India's position somewhere around 70 in recent Paris Olympics. So when Olympics, like an event, is being held in India, so that will motivate Indians, right? So that will motivate Indians. There is a chance that from next Olympics onwards, Indians may win more medals, and Indian government will also start focusing on developing infrastructure, sports infrastructure, identifying the individuals who are talented at the grassroots level, and also building some sports universities, better class state-of-the-art infrastructure. So everything can be done so that we can also encourage our sporting talent, because we are nowhere comparable with China when it comes to winning medals in Olympics or any other world championship. So it is very important that Indian government should also focus on this aspect as well. So previous Asian hosts include Doha in 2015, Dubai in 2019, and Kobe in 2024. Okay, so they were the previous para athletics world champion host countries, and Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in New Delhi will serve as the main venue for the athletics world championship, para athletics world champion. Now, what is the significance of this event? Now, hosting these world championship events will mark as it indicates India's commitment to promoting para sports, and it also offers a platform for the athletes to showcase their abilities and also gain from the international exposure. And the events are expected to inspire many, and it also raise awareness about the para athletics in India as well. So now when you compare the Olympics medals and para Olympics medals, so India has won more medals in the para Olympics, right? So therefore it would further motivate persons with disabilities. They are also facing a lot of stigma and stereotype. So these type of events will also help to some extent mitigate such stigma and stereotype attached with persons with the disabilities. And next topic is Eastern Kire's Spirit Nights wins 2024 Sahitya Academy Award in English language, right? So she is a writer from Nagaland, and her work Spirit Night wins 2024 Sahitya Academy Awards in English language. So we'll try to understand, we'll try to know about her, so because this may be useful for your exam. So Eastern Care, a prominent writer, and she is from Nagaland, right? So she has been honored with Sahitya Academy Award for the year 2024. So she will be awarded with the Sahitya Academy Award for 2024 and announced its annual awards in 21 languages recently. And in fact, Eastern Care has received the award for her novel which is Spirit Nights, right? So she has written a novel called Spirit Nights, and this was published by Simon and Schuster, India. And in fact, this Spirit Nights explores a haunting tale from Changnaga tribe of Nagaland. And in fact, Sahitya Academy recognizes the literary excellence of writers across different languages all across India, and Eastern's win in the English category marks her contribution to the literature, so her exceptional contribution to the literature. Now, apart from Eastern Cares, there are other notable individuals also who have won Sahitya Academy Awards from the northeastern part of India, such as Samir Tanti. So, awarded for his SMS work, Faringbor Batter Khata Jane, right? So for this particular literary work, so Samir Tanti has been awarded Sahitya Academy Award. And apart from that, Haobam Satyabati Devi, so she also received recognition for her Manipuri poetry collection Mainu Bora Nongshi Shairoli. And apart from that, Aaron Raja was honored for his Bodo novel Swarni Takhoi, right? So all these different individuals have previously received Sahitya Academy Awards for their literary excellence. And next topic is ISRO recently launches XPOSAT for cosmic research. Now in this context, we'll understand, so what is this XPOSAT and how this XPOSAT will assist ISRO in understanding the outer space better, and different outer space events as well. So Indian Space Research Organization has commenced 2024 with a very important milestone of successfully launching X-ray polarimeter satellite. So this is also known as XPOSAT satellite. Okay, so XPOSAT satellite, which is X-ray polarimeter satellite, and this particular satellite aims to enhance our understanding about black holes and neutron stars. Now, black holes and neutron stars are always fascinating, right? They are always fascinating, and throughout the world, research has been taking place to better understand the phenomena of black holes and neutron stars. So how they will help us in these different research aspects. So a lot of research is being done across the world, right? So ISRO is also not lags behind in this particular research, and that has been exhibited by ISRO launching this XPOSAT satellite. And this XPOSAT satellite has been deployed into the orbit using PSLV C-58 rocket. And in fact, PSLV C-58 rocket is known as, PSLV itself is known as the workhorse of ISRO because of its huge success in terms of satellite launches. So therefore, it has been reflecting ISRO's continued excellence in space exploration. And apart from that, XPOSAT is ISRO's inaugural satellite. So it is the first satellite of ISRO, and that has particularly focused on X-ray polarization studies, and it also equipped with two primary instruments such as POLIX and Expect, right? So these are two different instruments which are further strengthening the X-ray polarization satellite. Now, what are the mission objectives of this Expo satellite? So the satellite is projected to operate for 5 years. So it will operate for 5 years and will investigate around 50 cosmic sources within the energy range of 8 to 30 keV. And apart from that, so this mission will provide a valuable data on the polarization of X-rays, offering vital information about the behavior of extreme astrophysical phenomenon as well. And the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, as I've already told you, that this is also known as the workhorse of ISRO, has proven a track record of having been instrumental in missions such as Chandrayaan-1 and even the Mars Orbiter mission as well. So next our topic is Eastern Maritime Corridor would boost India and Russia trade. So we'll try to understand this. So what is this Eastern Maritime Corridor? Now understand one thing, that in recent times, after Russia-Ukraine war, after West imposing sanctions on Russia, so Russia has started looking towards China and India. So in fact, India is also another country which has imported a largest amount of crude oil from Russia after West has imposed sanctions on Russia. Now in this a very short period of 1 or 2 years, so India-Russia trade has substantially increased. So even though trade has substantially increased, so there are some shortcomings in India-Russia trade. So the shortcomings is the geographical barriers, the distance between Russia and India. So that is one such barrier. Lack of proper connectivity is also another major reason where we are not able to explore the opportunities for trade and commerce. Right. So in order to overcome such barriers in the connectivity, now what happened is that India and Russia have explored the alternative form of connectivity. For example, international north-south transport corridor and Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor. So these are all different ways through which connectivity can be further improved, right? So one such corridor where India and Russia have been emphasizing more to further strengthen their bilateral trade is Chennai Vladivostok maritime corridor. So this corridor is important for both these countries because of some reasons. So we'll understand those reasons as well, because the traditional route is from Mumbai port or from Gujarat through Arabian Sea and then Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and from Mediterranean Sea to North Sea. So this is a very far, right? So this is not easy, and this is also very far, and it is around 8,675 kilometers. And in fact, there is also another corridor from Chennai to Vladivostok on the eastern coast of Russia. And in fact, this is just 5,647 nautical miles, and it would save around 16 days of time. And it also save a distance of 3,000 nautical miles approximately. Right? So that's why now they are started emphasizing on this Eastern Maritime Corridor to boost India and Russia trade. Recently, India emerged as the largest purchaser of Russian oil, overtaking China, right? So India even overtakes China in terms of crude oil imports into India, and that has coincided with the establishment of this Eastern Maritime Corridor, which has enhanced trade between India and Russia. Now, the new sea route from Chennai to Vladivostok has streamlined the transport of various commodities. And so if you look at this Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor, so this route spans around 5,600 nautical miles, and it reduces the transit time of up to 16 days. And in fact, allowing goods to reach the destination just 24 days. So within 24 days, goods would reach to Russia, so through this particular corridor. However, in contrast to the traditional route, so traditional route generally takes throughout Europe, so it will take around 40 days, but it will take around 24 days only. So since early 2024, This Chennai Vladivostok route has facilitated the transport of crude oil, coal, liquefied natural gas, fertilizers, and containerized cargo. Right, so that's why it is very, very important to further enhance, to further strengthen trade between India and Russia. So next topic is World Meditation Day is observed on December 21. Now in this context also it is very important because meditation has roots in India, and that's where questions may be asked on this as well, particularly when World Meditation Day is observed and what is the theme of this year's Meditation Day. United Nations General Assembly has recently declared that December 21 as the World Meditation Day, right? So December 21 will be celebrated as World Meditation Day, that aims to promote awareness of meditation's benefits for health and well-being. And in fact, it has been co-sponsored by several nations including India, Mexico, and that emphasizes on right to good physical and mental health. However, you just have to remember this. And in fact, inaugural theme of World Meditation Day this year 2024 is inner peace and global harmony. So that is the inaugural theme of 2024 Meditation Day. So meditation traces its roots back to approximately 4,000 years to India. So since it has its roots in India, this is important for us, which has evolved over centuries and now embraced globally as well. Now yoga has also been popularized across the world, and in fact yoga has become one of the key element of India's soft power as well. So various cultures have adopted meditation practices, contributing to the diverse forms of meditation, right? So the next topic is that recently Russia has made a significant strides in terms of finding out a vaccine for the cancer. Now, as of now, we don't have any medicine for the cancer. And in fact, so now because of the lifestyle changes, because of the food habits, because of number of reasons, particularly, we can find out carcinogens in plastics, in our food also. So all these factors have been resulting in increased number of cancer deaths as well. So more number of people are getting affected by the cancer, but the challenge is that we do not have any potent medicine so that could address the problem of cancer. But recently one scientific development is that Russia develops mRNA cancer vaccine, and Russia even offers this vaccine for free. So Russia has made the scientific strides in cancer treatment with an announcement of a new mRNA vaccine, right? So it has announced a new cancer vaccine that is based on mRNA technology, and this vaccine aims to be available to the patients free of charge by early 2025. And in fact, it has also undergone promising clinical trials showcasing potential to suppress tumor growth and also prevent cancer spread as well. Okay, so this is the effectiveness or the potency of the mRNA cancer vaccine. So that could suppress the tumor growth and even prevent cancer suppression. And in fact, development of this vaccine has been expedited through the use of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence has been extensively used for the development of mRNA cancer vaccine by the Russian research team. And in fact, the traditional methods of vaccine designing, vaccine development, it is very complex, and it is also time consuming. That means it takes a lot of time, and it is also not easy without artificial intelligence manufacturing such cancer drug. However, it remains to be seen how effective the cancer drug is actually, so if it is effective, then it is one of the we could say a revolutionary invention in the field of medicine to deal with the cancer disease. So there are mainly two types of cancer vaccines: therapeutic vaccine and preventive vaccine. So these therapeutic vaccines are designed to treat the existing cancer by improving the immune response against these cancer cells. However, the preventive vaccines involve vaccines such as HPV vaccine, And these HPV vaccines aim to reduce the risk of cancers associated with specific viruses such as cervical cancer. So this HPV is human papilloma virus. So these are two different types of cancer vaccines, but Russia develops mRNA cancer vaccine, and Russia is also offering it. It is said that Russia is also, it is expected that Russia will also offer this vaccine for free of cost. So that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much.